You gotta put that in there. And nigga lift it up.
Nah, I was putting my shirt down. Fuck you.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you to another tune. Thank you for tuning the fork where everything is everything in life. Don't you hate when motherfuckers be kicking that shit off?
Dog. That shit make me want to immediately turn it off.
Grown motherfuckers. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, man. Like, notifications. You're like, dude.
Take it down some, dog.
Relax, man. You 53, right. Dude.
You're doing a lot. You doing a lot.
You doing a lot.
You doing a lot.
With a little.
With a Tune the Fork, man. Episode 14.
Welcome back.
We back.
I'm James.
I'm Life.
And we're here to just chop it up.
Yeah, we right back at it, man.
Man, how you feeling?
I'm good, man.
Good?
I'm good, man. A lot of moving parts out this motherfucker, but we gonna get this shit right, dog.
Like a transmission.
Right, exactly.
A lot of moving parts.
We gonna get this shit right, dog. I don't give a fuck how long it take.
Man.
Shit.
I just been chilling, man. Ain't really nothing been popping.
For sure. We been getting a lot of positive feedback, man, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's for me, man, that feedback just fuels me to keep going, man. Because sometimes you wonder whether it even matter, whether your shit is just going off into the ether.
Yeah.
But when you get that positive feedback, especially from dudes, man, who say they get it, it means something, man. So I appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and I actually been sitting and thinking about how I'm gonna feel when like super negative shit start popping through. Like, what do I do with that?
Right.
Because if I'm giving value to one, then I'm gonna also have to be able to give value to the other.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, man. Even if it's super negative, it's a gem in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And you recognize the gem when you can, and then you also recognize that it could be coming from somebody in a weird space. So you give them a little bit of whatever, how they feel about it is how they feel about it.
I think what I've been really focusing on when people are offering feedback is what their thought process is.
Right.
For coming to whatever conclusion that they come to. Even if it's one that's counter to ours. I like listening to the thought process that they went through to get there.
Right.
And I think that piece of it, more than anything, is kind of what makes me feel good. The fact that people are even thinking, because we're not talking about shit that I don't feel we're talking about things that is common in the ethos.
Right.
Or if it is, it's in the fringes. It's in small select groups that are pretty strong. But in terms of where we operate and who we interact with, I feel like it's just a different type of conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that people recognize who I've been talking to, just saying, hey man, just hearing two dudes talk about some shit I ain't really thought about, or I'm not even comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Talking about, but you guys are kind of giving me the green light to go into these other spaces to talk about it.
Right.
Which I think is dope.
Yeah. And this is something we, even before we started doing this, man, we've been talking this way, disagreeing and agreeing and being mad and all that shit and being wrong. And I'm pretty sure a lot of cats out here interact with their peoples the same way.
Yeah.
But, and I found that it's hard for some cats to feel wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to not necessarily be proven wrong, but to not have the answer and just kind of talk it through, right? But I think seeing this and seeing that shit, we wrong. Every joint that I've watched, I've seen a piece where I was wrong.
Yeah, same.
And that, I mean, that's part of it, man. I never came to be an expert or be right. So,
and that's the beautiful part of it, I think, because it's when you live in a world where motherfuckers' attention spans are so short.
Yep.
Most of their ideals and concepts about things are ready-made.
Yep.
It's like fast food for thought.
Yep.
So you don't know how the sausage is made. Yep. You don't know the work that was put into tackling and testing all of these different pieces of that thought.
Yep.
You just know that it was presented to you in this way, and now you go out and repeat it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're actually sitting down and having conversations and processing things that we don't even know.
Right.
And even at the end of the joint, it's like we still might not know, but we're comfortable in that space.
Yeah.
And I think we're giving other people permission to be comfortable with not knowing.
Yeah. And also look at the people they're talking to and understand that, if you have a thought about something, notice I ain't say opinion, just a thought. That don't make it right or wrong. It's just a conversation. That don't make it right or wrong. And it's okay. You know what I'm saying? We all go into this thing trying to sort of navigate it. And, when you talk to, your people, it's okay to just chop it up.
And it's okay to have a little silence in between fucking thoughts.
Yep.
And that's something I think I've been seeing in mine. Like, I'll think about something, or even when I'm having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
Because the way shit is set up now, the faster you respond, the better your points are, the higher your points are. Like, oh, he's quick-witted. Or he had an answer for everything kind of shit.
Yep.
And then if what you said quickly was wrong, you probably won't go back and correct it with the same energy.
Right.
You'll probably just move on to some other shit, or worse, you'll defend that motherfucker to the death.
Know you wrong.
Knowing you wrong.
Right. Yeah, and I think that also comes from, dog, a lot of times, and we've all heard this dozens of times. People talk to you, and when you're talking to them, they're not listening to you. They're thinking about what they're about to say.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get done, they hop right in with and they don't even, they don't even get what you're giving them. They're just trying to say something. So those gaps, man, are key. And pauses.
And what you just said, when I go back and I look at this stuff, what I'm learning about me is I am so attached to my thoughts and ideas. And one of the things that this podcast or the process of creating it has actually helped me understand is how to let go of certain thoughts and ideas.
Yep.
Because sometimes you'll be on a track that I need to stay on. And I've got to be okay with letting go. So like you just said, everybody's sitting and listening.
Right.
And in my mind, I'm like, oh, that was a dope thought. Let me show how dope I am by holding on to that thought and not listen to him. But through this podcast, in a lot of cases, bro, I've got to take whatever quote unquote dope thought I have and let that motherfucker go so that I can be a better listener and follow where it is that you're trying to go.
Yeah.
And as simple as that may sound,
exactly,
it's hard as a motherfucker, especially to me, walking around thinking I'm all of this old shit and my thoughts. But I've got to, if I want to be a better friend and a better listener and a better contributor to these conversations, I got to be willing to let a lot of those thoughts go so that I can participate in the path that you construct and want to go down a lot of cases. And that ain't got shit to do with me.
Right.
And it's about removing the ego ultimately at the end of the day. Because I got to be like, okay, what does life need? Where is he trying to go in that conversation.
Yeah.
And I really think about that shit a lot, bro. And then I take that into the real world after we leave here.
Yeah. And it's deep because, you know, everything that I've been reading recently is about, I just got finished that book, The Four Agreements. Dope ass book. About being in the moment. And part of being in the moment is building moments from moment to moment, right? So what you just said, you know, we could be building something, having a conversation about something and building, and each of us are adding to these moments, right? And same thing, you could have a thought in your head, that a dope ass thought, but it might not be what this moment needs. You know what I'm saying? So you're building these moments, man. And again, that, for me, you hit it right on the head, dog. Once you take it outside of this, you start to understand to be in the moment and hear what someone is saying, because you're contributing. You conversations with people are building moments. It's not about a lot of times you driving this thing or the other person driving the thing. It is its own creation.
Yeah.
Right. So and bringing that into the world, man. And that creation requires you to not only be present in hearing and listening, but also understanding and empathizing and seeing what this person is saying and how they're saying it, and then being able to build on that. So that's good shit.
And when I think about the thoughts, the whole idea of saying their mind is wrong.
Right.
Because none of the shit is mine.
Right.
And
right.
If the source of all of these thoughts, if the source is infinite,
right,
then I'll have a new thought.
Yep.
And the idea that I've got to hold on to something that I have an infinite amount of,
right,
is wild.
Right.
And so
he said it's wild.
It's just a practice of just having faith and trusting and being secure that you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Because you really get to show up like as a whole human being, as a whole individual.
Yeah.
And be ready to be whatever the situation requires. Like one day, today, I might just have to be the motherfucking ear and sit in the passenger seat and let life drive. Right. And then one day, shit, we might look, hey man, I'm gonna pull over, get something to eat, you drive. And then, you know, whatever it is. But sometimes we enter into a space wanting it to be something, and then we sort of corrupt it in a way because we don't leave room for like the unknown.
Yep. For the moment. For that moment to, and from moment to moment, man, is we don't know. We're just here from moment to moment building. And that's what building is. People think, you know, they use this word building, we just building, we just vibing. Vibing and building is about being in the moment, understanding you're in the moment, and then contributing to the moment from moment to moment. In a way that, you know, like you said, that builds it however it gets built.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's good shit. And that's something we can take on everything, man. Everything. And not just how we interact with people. Again, dog, always bring it back. How you interact with yourself. You know what I'm saying? How do you speak to yourself in those moments? Do you clutter up those moments with thoughts of past shit? Thoughts, worry about future shit? Some side tangent shit, what other motherfuckers is doing and not doing? You know what I'm saying? Or do you try to remain in this moment and building from moment to moment?
So to that point, why do you think we feel it's so important to reiterate certain things? Because when you just said what you just said, like I feel like a lot of the things that I say, and I think I hear you saying them sometimes a lot too, is across different segments of the podcast.
Right.
Is it, you think, like a fear of being misunderstood or something?
Nah, I just always, in those instances, I just always like, for me, because a lot of times, even in regular life, dog, there's a consistent message that exists.
Okay.
There's a consistent thing that needs to be reminded and sort of not necessarily revisited, but I need to be reminded of on a regular basis. And those things pop in and out of my existence in multiple ways, right? You know, and sometimes it's a sign, like I'll go somewhere and see a very distinct thing, and then 2 days later, I'll see the exact distinct thing, right? And that's a message to me as it moves through. So in these cases, I think that consistent message, dog, is something that when it comes back again, it just sort of drives home for me, a piece of what this whole thing is about, you know, for me, understanding how I operate and how things are. Like the process piece, we always talk about, you know, everything is a process, right? And we always talk about, you know, how you speak and how you interact with yourself, because that's part of my, you know, from thing to thing. And these are all things that always come back to me and always become visible again.
That's a good point. Because I think a pattern is just something that is done over and over.
Yep.
And I think that is a pattern that should be a pattern.
Yeah.
Because it's like all of this shit is just a reflection of ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
And remembering that is a very, very, very important piece. Because it's almost like saying, like when you see people who are loving, they're just loving people.
Right.
And they love themselves.
Right. Right.
And like a lot of it is just kind of like a reflection, a mirror of one and the other.
Yeah. And those patterns, man, only exist when you create them.
You got to create them.
You know what I'm saying?
Or you participate in patterns that were created.
Exactly.
And most of them ain't good patterns.
Exactly. So this part of this, doing this, is creating that pattern. For me, even in going back and listening to it and all of that, it reinforces the patterns that I want to create, the different patterns. Because like you said, the patterns that were there before were not healthy patterns. And for a myriad of reasons, we all got them, right? But in changing those patterns, dog, part of that is hearing it and seeing it and taking those symbols and those representations as part of that pattern.
And that doing piece is like what brings it all together.
That's right. It seals it.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Because the do,
For sure.
One of the patterns that I think that I've been trying to create in my life, man, is just trying to put myself in positions of looking for opportunities to be of service.
Yeah.
And I actually get up now looking for that.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of time on my hands. I'm thinking, I got a lot of stuff that we're doing and all of that. And it's like I can always carve out some time to just try to do something else for somebody else, man.
But what is that? Let me ask you this. What is that? Because, a lot of times when you hear that, and I kind of know, you know what I'm saying, kind of the things that you do, but just for people who wouldn't know, it could bring up a thought of, you go out and you kind of do these very formal things to be of service to people, you know what I'm saying, less fortunate and all that kind of stuff. What is that? How does that manifest for you?
I think for me, checking in with people is a part of that.
And that's deep because that is being of service, but it's not a formal thing. It is something that is received not as something of service, but is just received as love.
I think we look for everything we do matters.
Right.
And so I am a firm believer in that.
Right.
Meaning, so I don't get to just lay in motherfucking bed, bro.
Yeah.
There's me moving and existing matters.
Yeah.
And so the number of people or things that I can touch and the amount of energy that I can give out into the world is service to me. And so it's almost like if you're a giver, you look for opportunities to give.
Right.
Or if you're, it's just the way that you see the world.
Right.
And so if you're not a giver, or that if you don't have that kind of lens, then you'll see giving maybe as like some philanthropic shit.
Right.
Or going and feeding the homeless for Christmas.
Right.
Or, that kind of stuff.
Right.
For me, being of service is just moving.
Right.
And existing.
Right.
And touching people.
Right. Right.
Because if you see a person walking down the street and you say hello, that's a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, like, I wanted you to clarify that because I get it. I get that. But I just wanted to be clear that a lot of times we do these things, like, not necessarily intentionally, but we just do them because that's just the kind of people we are, right?
Yeah.
But when you do it intentionally, it changes patterns.
Yeah.
Right? It changes, and this is and you receive back things intentionally.
Yeah.
Right? When you go out and this is what you set out to do, not just something you just happen to see somebody walking down the street.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, or you know what I'm saying, or whatever the case is. Like the intentional piece is something that's valuable.
So the intention is being it.
Right.
My intention is to be love.
Right. Right.
So the end result of that is no matter where I'm trying that, right? So motherfucker starts talking crazy, then I'm going to be challenged in that area.
Right.
So the intention is to wake up that day to be love.
Right.
To be of service.
Right.
And so that means that the way that I see the world is going to be one of service. So that but I'm calling the shit that I'm doing I'm not necessarily calling everything that I do that.
Right.
That's just calling who I am that.
Right. I get it.
You see what I'm saying? Like, and I think because the intention, the action is an end result, is a byproduct of who it is you're choosing to be.
Right.
But the action, you need the action in order to kind of like flip it and seal it in a way.
So do you think that, and this is probably true, but your thoughts on whether to get to be that, are both paths viable? If you get up every day and you say, okay, I'm going to do these, or, whatever, I'm going to be of service in these ways, right? Or if you say, I'm going to be love, I'm wake up and be love, and whatever that looks like for you, right? You think those are two paths to the same thing? Or do you think you need to go one or the other?
It's almost like what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? So I think nothing's going to beat work, the doing part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
But can you be something without doing it?
Right.
Or can you just be it? And that's something that I think I struggle with.
Yeah.
Because for me, the doing reinforces it. And I think that's what helps me with like my depression and a lot of the other things that I struggle with. Yeah. Because just sitting still isn't enough for me.
Right.
Because I feel like that I matter and I am enough. That me moving is a requirement. It's almost like saying a fish that doesn't swim.
Right.
Can a fish still be a fish if it ain't swimming?
Right. Right.
And maybe, I don't know, but I don't know which one comes first. I know that when I wake up in the morning, I got this thought.
Yeah.
And then when I go to bed at night, I look back. So it's a past, present and future things.
Right.
So I'm looking at what I want to do. I look at what I'm doing.
Right.
And then I look at what I've done.
Right.
And all of that is like a type of moment. And I'm not beating myself up at any point in the process.
Right.
I might want to do more tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that what I did the day before wasn't shit.
Right. And it's a daily thing. You got to wake up every day and exist that way every day. But you know, the Bible says faith without works is dead. So that work piece, that moving in that faith or moving in that spirit piece is valuable. But again, man, it's daily. So you got to wake up. I mean, so you wake up not worrying about yesterday, worry about what you plan to do today. So
and I think your situation, it's unique relative to mine, but to other people, because you got kids, man.
Yeah.
You got obligations that transcend the shit that I'm talking about. And I'm always curious, because, you know, you're a relatively private dude.
Yeah.
And until we got tight, I just, you know, saw you move and always had these, what does he do? Or how is he doing that? I know he got kids. Or like, you know, you do a really good job of compartmentalizing and keeping the family shit to the side and doing the business shit. But you're you in all of the spaces, right? Not saying that you're a different cat, but as we're talking about these kinds of things, I'm wondering, how do you manage the responsibility and the commitment of children and the work that requires, along with all of the other stuff, man? Because that seems like that would be a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but your family, man, a lot of times is an extension of yourself. So however you move, you have to move with your family in mind. Like you have to build in how you get around. And those kinds of things that you, like, it's everything. So as an extension of yourself, whatever you get up and think about yourself, if you're changing patterns, you got to think about your kids and your family and how you approach those things, right? Good or bad, because a lot of times you wake up bad and then, you know, there's other shit. But, you know, and the being of service part, that's part of it too. How are you changing patterns? How are you exhibiting this love piece that you want to give to yourself? How are you exhibiting it to your family? You know what I'm saying? To your kids. How are you going to move in that space? And again, it's an intentional piece and it's an ongoing everyday piece. Because some days you just don't feel like it, but those are the days that you need to do it the most, right? And it's a navigation, man. But again, I think about it as if it's me. So,
as if they're you?
As if they're just an extension of, like, they're my arm or they're my, you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
I have to, everything that I do, I have to make sure that I'm extending it to them. Everything that I feel, when I want to be positive, when I have to be positive, when I have to wake up and try to be better, I want to extend it to them as well. And I mean, you know, to everybody. And then it becomes, as you extend it further out, it becomes, you know, who you extend it to, your people. You extend it to your friend, you extend it to your extended family. So it's all the same. It's all sort of in the same bucket. But when you got that children piece, it's immediate. So, and you have to, you know, and you have to extend it and also be receptive to it.
So you got kids that go over a pretty wide range. Not super wide, but just wide enough. But, and so I'm thinking about, as you were talking about giving.
Yeah.
And extending.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you brought in receiving back.
Right.
Like that giving for the 20-year-old.
Yeah.
The receiving from that might be different.
It looks different
than the 9-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do you manage that piece of it? Because what you give and what you get back across them three
is different. Yeah. Because it's weird, man, because you see a lot of yourself in them. So for me, when I see those parts of myself that I know that were not necessarily bad, but just, moving in a little different way than I'm now, I have to give them room for that. You know what I'm saying? I have to give them room for the mistakes that they're gonna make. I have to understand that when I was their age, my message that I was getting from the world was way different than the message that I want to give to them. Mm-hmm. So I have to be aware of those things. And again, dog, it ain't always been this way. This is a recent sort of recent activities that I want to be aware of the fact that they have shortcomings, the fact that they are going to make mistakes. They're doing the best they can. We all are. So moving in that way, man, what I'm giving them, and I see the change in what I give them and what they give back. When I give them empathy and unconditional love and understanding and saying, even in saying, hey man, cool, everybody make mistakes, it's done, it's over. What are we gonna do now? You know what I'm saying? Where we at now? What are we gonna do next? How can we mitigate that? How can we move forward from that? You start to see them implement that. You know what I'm saying? You start to see them open up to be able to receive that, as opposed to if I'm like, motherfucker, don't, you shouldn't have, all of that.
Yeah.
Then that's what they give back, that very closed off, confrontational energy. Right?
So you're raising boys to men, right?
Yeah.
And a young man.
Yeah.
And a part of that process, I'd imagine, is helping them navigate both sides of the coin, meaning what success looks like.
Yep.
And what failure looks like.
Yep.
What admitting you're right looks like.
Yep.
And what admitting you're wrong looks like.
Yep.
And so as a father who I'm sure constructively outlines to them with grace when they're wrong.
Yeah.
How do you invite them into your process of acknowledging your shortcomings?
Man, listen. Again, none of this is like,
because that's something I don't think. My father never said I was wrong.
Not one time, dog. So I've never heard it.
And I think that's, and I think that's kind of
it's a value in that. It's a value, and I've said to them, hey man, I've sat the oldest down, both of them, and been like, hey man, I dropped the ball on this. I made a mistake. I've made my share of mistakes. We all do, right? And talk to them about, consistently talk to them about that grace piece. Not just extending grace to other people, but extending it to yourself. And I think that's the key, dog. When they don't see that there is mistakes to be made, like making mistakes is part of your growth. You know what I'm saying? Failing is part of it. Failing is not the mistake. You know what I'm saying? The mistake is not trying. or not getting up and trying it again. Failing is part of it. And when I could say to them, hey man, look, I blew that, or I shouldn't have done that, or how I responded or what I did was not the way that I should have responded. But we here now. You know what I'm saying? And I have to forgive myself. I ask y'all to forgive me. And I want y'all to start forgiving yourself, man. And understanding what grace, and I try to teach them what grace is. And that's hard for teenagers to learn because all they know is, they are hard and fast in what their opinions are about things. It's weird. But to teach them, grace, and also to not just see the critical parts, but also see the other side of that. See where people are good. See where people are trying. See where people have a good spirit or a good heart, but they just fall short in some areas. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That grace piece is hard, but that's something that I consistently talk to them about and want them to extend that to themselves, because sometimes teenage boys are super hard on themselves because they're super hard on, and it could be that the world is super hard on them. Like they have this expectation that they put on themselves, and they don't give themselves a break. They don't give themselves that grace, that room to make mistakes. And I try to tell them, man, we all gonna make mistakes, but we're all here to help each other. If you come to me and say you made a mistake, I'm here to help. I ain't here to beat you down on a mistake that you already made. There's nothing you can do about a mistake you've already made. Let's figure out how can we move forward, or how can we, whatever you need to do, that's what I'm here for. And it's been plenty, man. It's been plenty of mistakes.
Are there any topics that you used to struggle to have with them that has gotten easier over time?
Not really, man. I've always felt like that no matter what it is, we could talk about it. Like, I think that over time I've gained a particular, because you do, dog, when you want your kids to be successful and you want your kids to be great at whatever it is they want to be great at. Sometimes it's whatever you think they should be great at. And you hold them to this standard that is impossible for them to carry. So they start to hold themselves to that. And then they start to close off. They start to, close themselves off because they don't want you to know that they're making mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a level of openness that you got to have for them to be able to say that they made a mistake, because otherwise they're not going to say nothing. And you're going to find out when it's way later and it's already to the edge, right? If it was something that you could have talked about initially, then we could have saved ourselves a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? So it's just being open for them to feel like that they can make mistakes, right? And then talk to you about the mistakes that they're making. The little mistakes that build to the biggest mistake. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? When they can talk to you about the little mistakes or the little decisions that they made that weren't the smart decisions, then you can start to build a level of, they got to trust you, and then you can trust them. And it's tough, man. It's tough. Because every kid is different.
It's very different. They're very different. And I think that's why the little ones, little mistakes repeated turn into patterns. Yep. All patterns are habits.
Yep.
And a lot of times when you're 14, 15, 18, 19, 20, 10, it's hard for you to see how small things turn into habits.
Yep.
So when you popping off about something, to them it seems small, right? But because they haven't lived long enough to connect the dots,
exactly,
and they haven't been able to see how patterns turn into habits. So what do you mean? I just just my bed. I just forgot to make. And in your mind, you're like, motherfucker, this is how you end up not being shit. And that might, and that's an extreme, but it's like the small things. It's like when you talk back to your mom. Like when you talking back to people, like that turns into something else. But because you 13 and you don't know shit, you don't know what else it turns into. But I know a dude who used to talk back to his mama. That motherfucker on parole right now.
That's clean.
But they can't connect those dots. So, and I think for my godson, I had a lot of conversations with him about trusting. Understanding that if you have been doing anything for a short period of time and somebody else has been doing something for 3 or 4 times that amount of time, you have to assume that they know more. In the same way that you would assume that you know more about making beats than me. So if I came in, what am I gonna look like trying to tell you some shit? So even though you might not necessarily understand, trust the person who's telling you. Just leave room for the trust thing, even if you don't see it, because you're not supposed to see it. And you're 15.
And that's what I tell them, man. There's a trust piece that, you know, I just don't think that kids see a lot of times. And sometimes I wonder, do they trust you, or do they just, or is it that they just want to be independent enough to think that they know? And so I've made a concerted effort to always talk about trust. Hey man, I am here for you. I am not here to hinder you. I want you to live as carefree of a life as you could possibly do. Whatever you want to achieve, whatever goals you set, I'm just here to support you getting there. And with whatever needs to get done. But you need to trust that like you said, I see things that you don't see. Like I did an example. I had him stand in front of me, and I said, well, what's behind you? And I said, don't turn around. Look at what's behind you. And they couldn't say what was behind them. And I was like, well, behind you is X, Y, and Z, And I'm showing you that I see things. It ain't about knowing more or anything. It's just the fact that I have a vision of something that you don't have. So I can tell you if something is behind you that you need to be aware of. I can tell you if there are things that you need to pay attention to that are in spaces blind to what you're looking at. So, but you have to trust that what I'm telling you is valid. And that's hard. That's tough.
And I think a part of the trust part on the parent side that is even harder than that, or just as hard, I should say, is trusting them, meaning the process. Trusting that because I think a lot of times all they want to know is, will you be there if they fuck up? And when they fuck up. And a lot of times what we're telling them is, trust me. Because you can't fuck up.
Right. And that's pressure.
And that's pressure. So sometimes a part of the parent side of it, I think, is watching them literally run into a proverbial wall, bro. And just be there on the side. To have a conversation. Maybe not even to say, hey man, what'd you learn? Or what? Just be there and be like, just pick them up and then just. So because we want to reduce pain and reduce barriers and all of these things that actually build character. All of the shit that we had to overcome to make us who we are. And so they're sitting on, so when we're talking about trust, a lot of times we're talking about them trusting us. As opposed to us trusting them.
That is clean.
That they can persevere through that failure, and they'll be okay. Because sometimes all they're saying is, "Let me fail."
Yeah.
And in a way that an adolescent says it.
Right.
Because they know that it's wrong.
Yeah.
But this is how they carve out their space in life.
Yep. And learning, and you're right, dog, trusting that, and I try to tell them this, and I don't know if it comes across, because like I said, man, fuck, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just moving from moment to moment the best way I can, dog, because this shit is hard. Mm-hmm. But having them understand that no matter what, I'm here. No, I don't care there is not a situation that you can present to me that you can put yourself in, mistake that you can make that will make me not be here. I am here. And sometimes it is when they do make those mistakes to not be like you said, not to be like, okay, well, you should have did this and you should have did that. Sometimes it's just to be like, hey man, shit. It happens. We all fuck up. Let's keep it, let's go get something to eat. It ain't even, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We talk about it when you feel like talking about it. If you don't, whatever, you know what I'm saying? We'll deal with it, however we deal with it. Let's go get something to eat. And just sitting and eating, that's there. It ain't gotta be no long extended speeches about what they did wrong and how they fucked up and a long laundry list of shit. It is sometimes just being in the space with them lets them know that he's there. And I think that like for me, before, there's a feeling that we're letting them off the hook if we do that.
Oh, yeah. If you don't blow up.
So there's always a punishment attached to a mistake. So naturally, you're not gonna tell them the mistake because you don't want the punishment. You already punished yourself enough. There's already guilt. There's already a feeling of failure that the kid feels from just making a mistake. Yeah. And now I got to tell this motherfucker who's gonna yell at me for 45 minutes and bring up all the shit that I've done wrong, and now I just rather not say nothing, right? But when they know that they can sit with you and you sit with them through the mistake, then that it's a different dynamic. But that's hard, dog. That's hard because we grow up with this punishment mentality of we're gonna make you pay for every mistake that you make. We're gonna motherfucking cut your hair off because you did this, or I saw, dog, on the internet, not to derail, where this chick built a prison for her son in a closet in her house.
Get the fuck out of here.
So she put the bed in the closet and had and she was like, the internet, this is his cell. What's your number? And had her son recite a number in the cell. And they said, this is his underwear, his belt, and showing the closet was like a thin closet. So his bed was just on the other side of the wall. So it just, and she went on to say that he's doing things and all of this. And so he, this is how the world's going to treat him if he don't, I was like, that's tough. I mean, dog, that's, but we do have this punishment mentality. So every mistake that a kids make, we feel like we have to respond with punishment, dog. I've done it and I've regretted it. Yeah. Every day I regret those kinds of, but that's the shit that I was taught. Yeah. So what the fuck you gonna do?
Yeah. And I think what I always thought was clean was the truth piece, man. Yeah. Even about, I used to always be like, I ain't never telling my kids no motherfucking Santa Claus. Fuck Santa Claus. Fuck the Easter Bunny. Fuck the Tooth Fairy. I'm like, fuck all lies. like, let's get this shit straight.
Right.
And even the lies about me and about what I know and about what I don't know. Yeah. And even this whole, and I always thought that it was really, there was something, what's the word that I'm looking for? Romantic about just being 100 with a kid. Yeah. And about letting them know what's what and saying, hey, look, because I always felt, I heard Mr. Farrakhan say that a child is capable of learning whatever a teacher is capable of teaching.
That's facts.
And a lot of times we're judging kids. When we're telling a kid what they can't learn,
right,
what we're really saying is what we can't teach.
Right.
And so,
right.
But we're blaming we're putting the onus on the child,
Yeah.
which is a fucked up thing.
Yeah.
But what we're really saying is, I don't have the ability. I don't have the ability to break that concept down in a way that you can understand.
Right. And sometimes it's, I don't want to deal with even saying it because it requires me to say a truth that I haven't said yet.
Yes.
So I can't say it to you because I can't say it to my fucking self.
It's about the racism shit. Yeah. It's about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Oh, I want them. We'll always say, I want the child to enjoy the world and see they're gonna know the reality of the world. And every time I hear that, I always see it as an excuse, and not to knock. I understand.
Right. There's a protection piece in there too. But yeah.
Because an excuse to protect.
Right.
That's what I mean.
Right.
Because it's like, this isn't something that I want to deal with for them.
Right.
Because the minute you open up the world, you got a responsibility.
Yeah.
And so I think, and the kids know it in the same way that we knew it.
Right.
And there's something real clean about the idea of you telling your sons, man, like, I'm just trying to figure this shit out too.
Yep.
It's some shit that I got figured out, but it's a lot of shit that I don't have figured out.
Yep.
And y'all gonna come looking at me for an answer, and I might not have it. But the dope shit about our family is we're gonna figure it out together.
We're here.
We're here.
That's it.
And we don't get to give up as a unit.
Yep.
Like, that's not what we do.
That's right.
And so,
we don't give up on each other.
So we have to figure it out. We've got to see this shit through.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it ain't even necessarily about solving the problem. It's just about sustaining.
Right. And sometimes there's
get through.
There's no solution. Sometimes it just is.
You just gotta sustain.
You just gotta keep You just gotta push through it. That's right.
And so I think these kids are smart enough. I think they're strong enough.
Yep.
I think we talk about, I mean, I've heard a lot of conversations talking about like what these kids can and can't do and shit like that. But they're a lot more, they have strengths that we didn't have.
Yep. And they have savvy that we don't have. That we didn't have.
Not at all.
Right.
And I think that there are ways in which they're going to be moving and contributing to the world that we would never be able to. But it's going to be in a different way, but it's going to be their way.
Yeah, and again, dog, for me, the piece is once I understood what the fuck you just said, then my job becomes to make sure that two things, that I don't pass the self-doubt and the fuckery that exists, that I struggle, you know what I'm saying, to them in ways of the judgments and the criticisms and that. I have to make them feel an eternal sense of grace and forgiving themselves that I didn't have. Because that, once you can forgive and you don't hold on to this shit and you don't stack the shit, and again, let's go back. If you don't carry this bag full of all this shit around with you all of the time, dog, it frees you up to be whatever the fuck you want to do, whatever you want to be. And that is, dog, that piece is where, as you become an adult, is where you start to become a whole person. Because if we walk around with this shit pent all up, these failures, these shortcomings, and these, we feel like every time we make a mistake, we sit in judgment of ourselves, like our parents sat in judgment of us, like, dog, it's heavy.
It's heavy, man. And I think that piece that that forgiveness piece, and knowing how to let go, bro.
Dog.
Like the idea.
Right. We don't teach them that shit.
We don't teach it, bro.
That's a skill. That's not something you're just born with. That's a skill. Well, it is, you're born with it,
you're programmed to do the exact opposite.
Exactly.
And then you got to deprogram the motherfucker.
Exactly.
No, it is, man. Because I think it goes back to that punishment shit.
Yeah.
Because it's like if we were raised to, I'm gonna crush you.
Yeah.
This is how you teach, through pain.
Right. That's right.
Life is painful enough.
That's right.
The end result, right. the outcome or the ramification of an action is pain enough.
Yep.
Adding on top of that an ass whooping, you ain't shit.
Yep.
You ain't gonna never be shit.
30 minutes of that.
You just like your daddy.
Dog. And then
come back behind that with a, I love you, right? And it's like, yo.
Right. But then you bring the shit up again 2 days later, or the next time they make a mistake, you bring that same shit up again. And dog, I was in the 4 agreements that talked about humans are the only animals that relive mistakes thousands of times. Like no other animal, once they make a mistake, all right, well, fuck it, it's over. But we relive them shits, and then other motherfuckers remind us of it over and over. And we as parents do that to our kids, man. And they grow up with that critical judge living inside of them. Now, again, we all do the best we can. We do what we were taught, right? So, and a lot of us raised wonderful, functional kids, you know what I'm saying, into wonderful, functional adults, right? But, dog, that critical piece carries, even as a functional adult, you carry it with you, and it is something you struggle with your whole life. Even as a wonderful, functional adult, it's still something that the anxiety of it, the panic of it, all that shit we carry around, dog, how we deal in our relationships and all that shit, it's all a product of that.
It's like being an NFL player, and then you watching old game tapes over and over and over, and you just popping in the tapes. The crazy part is you only watching the failures. You're only watching the failures in your life. Yep. The mistakes. Yep. And you playing them shits over thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And you just popping in the tape. Mm-hmm. You just popping in the motherfucking tape. Yep. And then you wonder why shit don't change. Yep. Because you popping in, all you watching is the game tapes of your failure.
Yep. Yep. Over, you're right. Over, and even when it's not even about whatever. If you're a quarterback, if you're watching tapes, you throw interceptions over and over again, but you need to learn how to hand off the ball. Yeah. But you still watching interceptions. You can't get that tape off of rewind.
You can't. But the new circumstance causes you to learn how to hand off, but all you've been watching tapes on.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's fucking passing. Yeah.
That is it, dog. Yeah. And we give that to, and as I said, dog, we do the best we can, but that piece is critical to changing how we interact with ourselves, dog. Because, our kids, your stepson, your godson included, dog, are extensions of us. They are carrying, and we had this conversation, they're carrying forth things that we planted them. And we can plant good shit, we can plant bad shit, we can plant a combination, but they carry it forward. And we need to make sure what we're giving them are things that they can use, right? And they know, like we talked about before, dog, they know how those influences work, where they come from, even if they don't subconsciously, even if they don't really understand it, they know where it comes from. Mm-hmm. And they know, and they know what it is. And they need to know that we don't have all the answers. I don't know. but I'm here. Okay, let's go get something to eat.
Yeah.
Let's go get some a burger, some wings or something. Let's chop it up. Let's figure it out.
Do your kids watch the podcast?
Nah, I don't think they have. They might have. I don't think they have yet.
What's your thoughts about that?
Oh, it's all good to me. These ain't a lot of these conversations we've had. So it's not.
Is there anything you've said to them is there anything you've said on the podcast that you think that they don't know?
Nah, I think everything we've talked about on here, and again, dog, I use some of these conversations we've had in having conversations with them about how to, like, I want them to understand how to interact, especially with themselves. That's the key for me, is how you interact with yourself, because to me, it always begins with how you think of yourself and how you interact with yourself, right? If you can change that dynamic, then you can change how you interact and you can change patterns. Like if you know that I need to interact with myself in a loving way, right? Then I need to change the pattern about how I interact with everything around me. So yeah, so that, I've had conversations with them about that. And some of the other stuff we talked about too.
If your kids could say, if somebody asked your kid, what do you think your dad does not get about you? What do you think they would say?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I think that less now than it was before, but, you know, I was big on, like, you're wasting your time. You need to do something productive, and you need to, you know what I'm saying? I was really big on that. Not so much now, but I would think that they might say that they felt like that I thought that they weren't trying hard enough, right? That they didn't spend every waking moment trying to achieve whatever they were trying to achieve. So, and didn't understand that, you know, maybe I didn't see them doing it, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that they weren't making an effort, right? But that effort was never seen as the right effort, right? So, but again, I've apologized for that. Like, it's too much, you know what I'm saying? I want y'all to be happy. And you will get to wherever you need to get to being happy, right? If you're happy, then, you know, then you will be motivated to get to where you need to get to. If you're a ball of nerves and anxiety and panic and mess, it won't happen. And if it does, you're gonna be miserable when you get there.
Shout out to all the dads, man, who were raised in the ways of the old school, who see the value in that and the error.
Yeah.
And are trying, not trying, fuck it, you're doing it.
Yeah.
And who are creating new ways of interacting and parenting, and, you know, their children or godchildren, or, you know, whoever, you know, shout out to the men and women, but I think I want to speak to the men and just say, you know, it's not an easy thing, and we weren't even planning to talk about this.
Nah,
and I think one of the things that led my spirit to even go down that topic, man, is just knowing I've seen you interact with your kids, man.
Right.
We've talked about enough of the struggles and challenges, and the shit can be emotional.
Yeah.
And things don't always go the way we want it to. And I think that you know, you didn't ask to have this topic, but, you know, just want to let you know, man, I see you, bro. And I appreciate the man that you are and the work that you're doing, and, you know, the pieces of it that you need to own, and just your dedication, man, to getting this shit right with your kids, man, and inviting them on your process of being better, because like everybody signed up for the same shit.
Yep.
In your family, and that is to be better.
Yep.
And so I see you, man. And it was something about the conversation that you had the other day when I heard you on the phone that really moved me, bro. And I just wanted to. I didn't say anything at the time when I heard the conversation, but it was. I felt the love you felt, and the concern, and the support, and I know that a lot of men are showing up like that for their kids, and just wanted to say, shout out to all of y'all, man, and specifically you, brother.
Yeah, it's and again, dog, this is not like, my dad gave me a lot of gems just in, just in how to be there, like how to try to be there. It wasn't always right, it wasn't always pretty, but you know that they're there, and there's a value in feeling that, right? My brothers too, man. My brother got 3 sons too, so
wow.
Him too, there, like driving wherever they gotta go, there. And I think more so than anything else, dog, when you're there and they know you're gonna be there, like there's no doubt in their mind, dog, there's a value in that. And that piece. And that's something that was passed to me that I cherish, dog. And that's something that I hope I'm passing to them, that just being present. And then the switch is also to, and being and operating in grace for myself, for them, and then hopefully for themselves. Operating in that level of grace, man, because that is power in that. People think it's weakness in that forgiving piece, and that, dealing with people with grace and mercy and forgiveness, but it's power in that, man, because you make a powerful person as opposed to someone who's beat down and anxious and all of those things, man. It's tough. But it's a lot of fathers out here trying to figure this shit out. You know what I'm saying? Going through whatever you need to go through to figure this shit out. Doing better than trying to do better than what their fathers did. Trying it, man. It's a process, dog. It's all a process.
And
nobody got this shit figured out. Not one person.
And if the shit didn't work out with the moms,
right?
You gotta forgive yourself for that too.
Yep.
And it's okay. And that it ain't nothing wrong with trying to make the best out of a not so best situation.
Yep.
And there are a lot of people navigating that.
Yep.
That need to be reminded that you're not a bad parent.
Yep.
If the relationship with the mom didn't work out, and that everybody is just doing the best that they can. And that part too is important and needs to be, and people need to be reminded. A lot of people walking around who feel like they're failures as parents, man, because this shit didn't work out. And to your point, you can still be there.
Yeah.
You can still show up.
Yep.
You can still instill into that child a sense of worth and a sense of support. Even if those other things didn't necessarily line up. But it's got to start with the forgiveness piece of that too. And so
and it's tough because situations are different all over the place, man. But the being present, like you ain't gotta have no lengthy explanations or lengthy until you're ready, right, to have those conversations. But just be trying to be there, wherever there is. You know what I'm saying? Picking them up from school, taking them a lunch, seeing them in the morning, do whatever small piece. If they see you, the kids always want to forgive, man. I don't know no kids walk on. You only really build up this resentment once you get older and the shit is built for years. But kids, they just want to see your face. They just want to see that you're there. You ain't gotta have it all figured out. You ain't gotta have all the money and all the whatever and all the toys and all the Jordans.
And they might beat you up if you wasn't there.
Right.
But like
even still, that's right.
Even still, like that ain't
right.
That's hurt.
Right.
And sometimes you gotta love through that shit. You know, because like you said, they want to forgive.
Yeah.
You got motherfuckers 45 years old wanting to forgive their parent.
Yep.
But the parent is like, fuck that. I tried to call them 2 weeks ago and they didn't call me back. It's like, nigga, how you gonna give up? Like, you were absent. Let them beat you up a little bit if that's where they at. But just
it's tough because it's guilt, man. It's guilt, and it's
But they want to forgive. Like when you we want to let go of that.
Right. But I don't think, to me, in those situations, I don't think either party knows how.
Yeah.
They want to, like the parents want to be forgiven and understand where the resentment comes from, but they feel guilt and they feel whatever they feel, and they don't know how to come to you and be like, look, man, I fucked up. Let's go get something to eat and talk about this shit. But they don't know how.
But they don't know how to forgive themselves.
Exactly.
So it's like with me and my moms. Bro.
Yeah.
I've called my mother and said, I love you. And I don't like the relationship that we have. And I want it to be better.
Right.
But I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And I need your help.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Yeah.
Let's work on this together.
Yeah.
I said this shit over 20 years ago, bro. You know that my mother and I just had a conversation. She was in the hospital last year, and I went to go to the hospital to see her. And she was like, I don't know how to forgive myself.
That's key, man.
And no matter how I'm trying to move on, bro, she's stuck.
That's right.
And so even as the child, I've got to love my mom through that.
Yep.
Because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's what the situation calls.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that to say that sometimes the forgiveness has to start with yourself as the parent. Because the kid could be sitting over there forgiving you to the best of their ability.
Yeah.
And you can't even see it because you can't forgive yourself.
You can't receive it.
You can't even receive it.
And how you feel about yourself, you're a lot of times, especially of a older generation, dog, they are riddled with guilt and especially if they've had their share of mistakes, they are riddled with that shit and the guilt and the criticism that they give themselves. They live in that shit all day, all night, dog. They cannot escape from that. They can't show themselves a moment of grace, right? Or forgiveness. So once a child, and that child really reminds them of those mistakes.
Just looking at them.
Just what I'm saying. Yeah. Just looking at them. So they can't even receive, even when the child is like, look, mom, like you said, I want to fix this. I want our relationship. They don't know how to even come out of that. Yeah. That shit is 30 years in the building. Yeah. 35, 40 years in the building. It's hard as shit to come out of that.
Yeah.
Shit, it's hard. Dog, we just talked about forgiving last week. What'd I say? It's motherfuckers that I don't like. I met once. You know what I'm saying? 5 years ago, I don't like the motherfuckers ever since. Right? So that shit is hard, man. Until you can give and receive forgiveness for yourself, it's hard as shit. Now, it could be a way that you can show how to receive that forgiveness and how to build that forgiveness for yourself. But I don't fucking know.
I think so for me, just being there, just letting it go. Like,
you're right.
Because I'm not there pouting.
Yeah.
I'm not there
grown man pouting.
Entering into the space.
Right. On attack mode.
Yeah, it's kind of like just let me see, let me be what it is. But it's a two-part thing.
Yeah.
And I can only contribute to our relationship in the ways that I can control.
Right.
I can't control how she shows up.
Right.
And a part of me accepting the situation is recognizing that.
Yeah.
And just accepting that. And so I know that she's, my mom don't call me that much.
Right.
Even now. And sometimes I'll call her. So now do I want my mom to call me, man? Of course, bro.
Yeah.
But she don't have to call me.
Right.
She's dealing with whatever she's dealing with on her side.
Right. And you get it.
And I get it. And I'm okay with that. And she don't I'm cool with calling you to check on you. I'm cool with that piece of it.
Right.
And there's no slight on it. There's no resentment. I'm only acknowledging it because it relates to the conversation she and I had about her not being able to forgive herself. She calls my brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But that's cool.
Yeah.
Our relationship can be whatever she wants it to be.
Right.
But we get to own that.
And it's, it's a process. Even having that conversation was hard for her. You know what I'm saying? Even having that conversation probably opened her eyes to what she was feeling about herself in ways that she probably hasn't visited. So it's a process, man, and it'll continue to build and grow, man. I mean, that's all. Every day, that's all we can do.
Yeah, man. How you feel?
I'm good, bro.
Shout out to the babies.
Yeah, shout out to the babies, man. All of them.
What you been listening to?
You know what, man? I've found so in sampling and finding, hearing samples in song hip hop, and I've sort of like the early hip hop was James Brown heavy, but then the later hip hop got into there's a jazz nexus of R&B, of dance music, the Donald Byrds, the Roy Ayers, the Dexter Wansel.
What hip hop? Are you talking about Diggable Planets type era or past that?
Around I'm gonna say around, I don't know, 93, 94 Tribe, later Tribe, all the way up through the Melissa Morgan joint that Jay-Z used. And all of those, the locks using Dexter Wansel and John A using some of these jazz heavy, Donald Byrd especially, jazz heavy R&B. I wouldn't even call it R&B. It's like dance music, bro. Like Roy Ayers. Roy Ayers put the shit together. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole genre of that motherfuckers haven't explored yet, dog.
On the hip hop side or on the
original version?
Joint.
Yeah, not the hip hop side,
okay.
The original joints. Shout out to my man Dion, man. Dexter Wansel's, I don't know what he is, relative, but that's my man. Yeah, we used to work together, and one day we was talking, and we were talking about sample. We was talking about the locks.
No shit.
And he was like, "Yeah, Dexter Wansel is my cousin or something." I was like, "What? He got joints." Like,
you know he was lying, right?
His last name is Wansel.
Of course it is. It wasn't Ayers.
Nah, dog. Because when I look at him, he looked like the cat. It's fun. It's crazy, dog.
Man,
they are related.
If your last name was Washington and you looked like Denzel, would you tell women That Denzel Washington was your cousin?
My cousin.
My point. Dion, we forgive you, bro.
Hey, man, don't listen to this dude, man.
We know Wanzel ain't your cousin.
Dion, man.
That's convenient. Cousin is always the low-hanging fruit because you don't want to say brother because you can look that up on Wikipedia. So you always say, you know he's my cousin. You know he's my...
I think it's something like his father's...
See?
Cousin or his father's, something like that. Her grandfather. I don't know, man. Something like that. But shout out to Dion, man. Don't listen to this cat, man.
Dion, y'all not related.
So cats like that.
Let me see the gold plaques.
Archie Bell and the Dells. Archie Bell,
oh man, I was just listening to an MF Doom song, and he referenced Archie Bell.
Yeah, it got joints, man. I want to explore it a little more, man. But it's Earth, Wind, and Fire got a little bit of that in there. But it's a nexus. It's a whole genre of that Roy Ayers dance jazz music that exists. That's a precursor to like the more soulful house, you know what I'm saying? And the more like danceable R&B, maybe even disco, I'm not even sure. But it got a little bit of the Barry White vibe, but it's a little jazzier, you know what I'm saying? That's what I've been listening to. It's dope.
I've been listening to some UK jazz folks.
Oh, nice. Nice. Speaking of that, did you know that Loose Ends, Sweet as Pain? You heard that song, right?
No.
Got to be the sweetest pain. Yeah. Never mind.
What about it?
It's a remake.
From who?
Dexter Wanzel.
Oh, Dion's cousin?
Yeah. Dope record. Dope record. Loose Ends. Who's a British?
Dion's cousin too?
Listen, Dion, don't listen to this dude. Loose Ends, who's a British R&B band.
A dope motherfucking. Don't you ever try to change me.
Yeah, they wanted to.
Hold on. What's the name of the song?
Sweet as Pain.
And you say this is Dion's people?
That's the Loose Ends version.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is a remake of the Dion.
By Dion's people?
Yeah. That's a dope record, dog. That's a dope band. I think British soul is so sleeped on, dog. Like all the way back to like the System had dope records. And there's some samples that people use from there too. Dexter Wanzel is heavily sampled. I don't know if you knew that.
Hold on, here. Dum dum. You gonna.
Exactly. All that.
My boy Dion, he ain't your cousin. He ain't your cousin.
What if he was singing that? He ain't my cousin. Dexter was singing that. He ain't my cousin.
Hey, this is Dexter Wanzel. Just wanted to let y'all know.
You petty, dog. You
Dion,
real petty.
Full of shit.
He ain't my cousin.
He ain't my cousin. He ain't. Hey, man.
Cousin. You stupid, dog. Dion, don't listen to this dude.
Appreciate you,
that's
bro.
the homie. What kind of British soul?
British jazz.
British jazz, sorry.
Like some Oscar Jerome. That's mainly the one I've been listening to.
Do you think British jazz has something to do with the loose ends
Yusef Days
and all of them? Omar's and loose ends and
I'm sure, being
Brandon
over there, bro. The way they shit bubble, I think is different.
It does.
But it bubbles.
But it's but it's influenced heavily by shit that be happening over here, low key.
100. I mean, like it's a copy and paste with some other type of ingredient.
But it's the good shit though.
It's the good pieces of
exactly.
it.
Exactly.
And so when I say bubble, I mean like how it moves through the underground scene there.
Yeah.
And so like Georgia Smith.
Yeah.
She's cold.
Yeah.
Even her Jordan Reiki, time-ish. Some of them actually bubble up, but or get to the top. But the way the work that they're, I think for me personally, I think I would have to be there. Yeah. To be into their scene. Yeah.
And they
to see how it bubbles.
And they are good with it just being on their scene. See, I think a lot of times we want to go out and be the biggest shit, right, in the world, and be the most popular celebrity and all that, musician or whatever. They are good with being on an underground circuit because they can go to, because their underground circuit is Britain, is England, is Germany, is Sweden, is Italy, is France, is Spain. You know what I'm saying? They have that whole circuit of underground good shit to go. So they don't have to be the biggest act. You know what I'm saying? They can exist and have a hell of a living doing that.
And maybe, so it's kind of like with Hiatus Coyote, right? Like exactly. They bubbled for, I mean, they were big there.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the people, and that's what I mean when I say bubble. Like, they're bubbling. I think certain parts of it, you had to be in those spaces. Right. But when you're in those spaces over there, like they big.
Yeah, the energy.
It's like when they come here and go to live. Yeah. I remember when Hiatus Coyote first came here and they went to live, they didn't have that many motherfuckers in there. But the second time they came back, you couldn't get in the motherfucker. And by that time, I was like, I don't even want to listen to them no more. Because it was like, you know, they at that point, it was a whole different kind of, thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how that, I love that about that, man, that you know, you can be a quote unquote underground act and exist in there, and people exist in there. People go and DJs are the same way over there, man. You can exist as a quote unquote underground and do your thing, and people will come to you. Yeah. Because they love that shit. It could be it could be all kinds of different shit, but they love it. I mean, you could be Jazzy Jeff, you could be, you know,
Kenny
Rich
Dope.
Medina, right? You could be anybody in between, and they will love that shit because that's their scene.
Because they big overseas. Kenny Dope eats.
Yeah, all of them do, man. All of them do. And that's good. That's dope. I love it. I love it.
I meant to tell you, like your socks, dog.
Appreciate that, dog. You know, I'm trying to keep up with you, bro.
Yeah, and you still behind, dog.
I'm way behind, but I'm getting there. Now I was in front. You caught up. I let you catch up, and now I'm behind because I stopped. But you recognized your own slightness. And then you said, let me go ahead and flex. And you caught up and passed, and I let you shine. But your shine only can last but for so long until I come back and kick down the buildings like the dog pound.
So listen to this. Internet. This is a video, so y'all can see that. And with that said, thank y'all for tuning in.
Man. Hey, man, go love somebody, man. Forgive somebody, love yourself.
And love the fact that I look better than you.
Let that man live.